What is happening, YouTube Weight Loss Warriors? It's your boy C-Dub, and I'm back with another video. And today I want to talk to you guys about what you can do to counterbalance overeating. And I'm going to do it right after this. What is happening? My name is C-Dub, and I lost 125 pounds eating just one time a day. And I started this channel to give you tips and tricks and knowledge about my journey to help you on yours. So I hope that you become a subscriber and a weight loss warrior. And to all my peeps that come here day in and day out and watch my videos and support this channel, thank you so much for growing a wonderful community right here on YouTube. Again, I appreciate each and every one of you. So the topic that I got today is about overeating. And overeating is something that I think obviously is a problem for morbidly obese people and overweight people. And generally we overeat all the time in our culture today, and it's a big problem. But this guy right here is the worst about it. At least he was the worst about it. Since the beginning of my memory, I remember eating until getting sick. I never really had a filter that told me when I've had enough food. I just eat. I feel fine. That tastes good. I want another one. I want another one. I want another one. And then I'm toppled over, not feeling well at all. And this is a day in and day out thing, especially the meal at dinner, my entire life. And so that's a struggle and that's a problem. So since this weight loss journey, I've learned a lot about a lot of different things. And one of the things I learned about is some of the different hormones that play a role. So we obviously have leptin and we obviously have ghrelin. And those hormones tell you when you've had enough food and when you are hungry. And so leptin is the hormone that's going to tell you you've had enough food. And so if you are leptin resistant, your body is actually producing tons of leptin. It is just pouring through you saying you've had enough, you've had enough. But the signal is not getting to your brain. And therefore you're just continuing to eat. So it's almost in every morbidly obese person, they have this broken thing where their leptin is resistant. They have too much leptin in their system and their brain is not listening to the hormone. So that is not a small problem. That's a huge problem. And it can be solved, I don't know, relatively easy, or at least I can share how I solved it for each and every one of you. So maybe it gives you some advice on how to solve it. And I'm sure there's many different ways on how to solve it, but I'm going to tell you that I think fasting is the #1 way to solve this situation, or at least was for me. Now, I mentioned in the beginning of this video, and those of you that have always been a subscriber to my channel, you guys know OMAD is the way that I do my business. It's the way I've lost weight. It's the way that I've stayed in maintenance now for a long period of time. And that this journey is almost getting to 2 years long. And I've crushed it so well because of the fact that I'm only eating one time. But what eating one time ultimately does for you is it gives you this long period of not eating. Obviously a 23-hour period of not putting food in your mouth every single day, which allows your hormones to then lower and get to a stable base on a consistent basis. And once you get going on a consistent basis, your hormones start to speak back to you and you begin to get them back in check the way that they're meant to be. If we're taking in food all of the time, our hormones get out of control and they don't know exactly what to do with it. So when you've tapered that down and only eaten once, you've taken care of that. So what I'm recommending is not necessarily OMAD, but you can start with your typical 16 and 8 intermittent fasting protocol, and then you can do whatever from there. Guys, I truly believe a long-term fast or two will cure your leptin. It will reset it, but it has to be consistent fasting. You can do 16 and 8, and I think you have potential to reset it. I definitely think a warrior can help you reset it. Alternate day fasting, we have these big long periods of time of fasting. I think those kinds of things, if you're doing them, will help you reset what's happened to your hormone, your leptin, and get it back under control. So I think that's one element of not overeating. But we are doomed to also face it even during OMAD. And what do I mean by that? Well, let me break it down for you. So I'm someone that's done OMAD and lost weight. And I'm going to tell you now that as you do OMAD, you start eating large quantities and your quantities go down and down and down because your leptin starts to work again. So the leptin starts signaling you that you're full and you're eating less and less and less and less and less and less food. And then all of a sudden you're eating a decent portion for your one meal. But what ends up happening is you're eating this portion, and it gets a little bigger and a little bigger and a little bigger and a little bigger, and you V it back the other direction. And this is something we all can fall victim to, and it's something that the OMAD community and intermittent fasting in general don't talk about a lot, is the fact that you've gotten your weight off, you've hit this place where you're comfortable and you're in maintenance, and now you slowly start to eat too much, and day by day by day you slowly start to skew those hormones again, and you start working back the other direction, gaining the weight back. Maybe not all of it even, but some of it, and that can be a huge problem. So overeating is always something that we have to face as a reality of intermittent fasting and a reality of every weight loss journey. So what do we do to make it better, or what did I do? Let's just put it that way. So I think that there's a few things that you can understand, and I've heard a lot of different things, like a one plate rule during your OMAD, where you put all of your food on one plate and you don't get the extra big plates, you know, and you stack up your plate, you don't stack it too high, and you can eat whatever's on the plate, and that's the way to go. Of course you can count calories and make sure you're keeping it in a deficit or near a deficit maintenance level, and those kind of things can help you. But I think ultimately the number one bit of advice I'm going to give you is to plan what you're going to eat to the T before you sit down and eat it. And this is something that I even have to do now. Now I'm going to tell you, during my whole journey, I did not do this. When I was losing weight, I ate whatever I wanted, and it's self-regulated. But I noticed a couple of months ago that I was going back after I had sat down and eaten. So I sat down and said, well, I'm going to eat a piece of steak, I'm going to have this potato, I'm going to have this, I'm going to have this. And so I set it all down and I ate, and then I'm going back to the cupboard, and I'm typically going to go back to the cupboard for something I have no business eating, some kind of bad carbohydrate, chips or whatever it is, and putting something into me, ice cream or whatever. And so, not that you can't have an ice cream or a chip, I'm going to get to what I'm explaining in a second, but ultimately I would go back, and then I noticed that I was going back for more and more, and I noticed that although my weight may not have been creeping up, my lifestyle was changing again for the worse. So I had to take a minute and I have to wheel that back in, and I have to say, okay, now I know that we're having, let's use today for an example, we had breakfast for dinner. So on a typical day like that, I could sit down and eat breakfast for dinner, which is not that filling to me, and go back to the cupboard and back to the cupboard and back to the cupboard. But today, I made sure I had my 2 pita pockets, my biscuit, my sausage, my bacon. I got a couple of protein bars or whatever they were. And I had a couple of different things set up, and I put them down before I even started to eat. And I said, this right here, I kind of eyeballed it and said, this is about where my calories need to be for the day. I'm backing off right here. I sat down and ate, and when I finished the last bit of food, I thought to myself, hey, go to the cabinet and grab something else because you're a little bit hungry still. And then I got up off the table, I got a drink, and I left the kitchen. And I went about my afternoon, and I'm telling you now, I'm 3 hours later, and I feel fantastic. I'm not hungry at all, and I know I've eaten enough, and my hormones of later, 15 minutes after I finished eating, the hunger totally signal went away because I allowed my leptin to respond to the dinner that I had eaten, and I didn't continue to eat until I got the response from the leptin. So this is a tip that I think you can use. Not necessarily having to count calories, but it's always a good idea to do that and to just sit down and say, okay, I'm going to eat this steak, I'm going to have, and just put each thing you're going to eat down and know that this is not a quantity of too much food. This is what I should eat. And then walk away even if you're hungry, because I'm promising you within an hour or two that will balance back out. You can have a drink, you can go on a walk, you can go to the gym, you can do something to get your body moving. Your leptin levels, give it time to react and go up, and then you're going to be able to sit down and enjoy an afternoon feeling good, not feeling hungry, and sustain you into your normal life pattern the next day. And I think that is what it is all about. It's about, once you get used to OMAD, it's about closing your OMAD down and moving on. It's a little bit of a warning to all of you that are in your journey that this is not something you can ever really relax from. There's no time in which you can never consciously think about the intake of food. You have to understand that I came from a place of morbid obesity and I don't want to go back to there. So I can't let my habits slip a little at a time because I'm going to pay for it over the course of the long haul. Yes, you might only gain 5 pounds now, but if you gain 5 pounds a year, you are going to be back in morbid obese range in no time before you even know it. So trust me when I say that it is very smart to understand that I'm not going to overeat, and hopefully I gave you some tips that can help you on your journey not overeat. And there are other little small things like apple cider vinegar with your dinner, making sure you're drinking a glass of water before you start to not overeat, and all of these little things like chewing slowly and all of that. I've heard putting a mirror up so that you can see yourself eat helps too. I don't know if that's true or not, but at the end of the day, I know that when I plan out my dinner ahead of time and I say enough is enough, no matter how I'm feeling once the last bit of food goes in my mouth, I know I do a good job and I never feel hungry about an hour after dinner. So these are my tips for you. I hope they're helpful. I hope that you choose to subscribe to this channel. I know you're going to see it. It's popping up right there. It's my face. All you got to do is click on it. It is free to do that. It shows me support, and when you do that, it allows me to tell you in the future tips and tricks that help you that are priceless. So I hope that you join me again, and I'll check you guys on the next one. Peace.